All right, let's get rolling. There's this real thrill, isn't there? Hitting the open road, building your own trucking business, making those big moves. It's genuinely exciting stuff.
It really is. A lot of freedom, a lot of potential.
But, as you know, with that excitement comes some pretty hefty responsibilities.
That's the flip side, definitely.
And one of the first big checkpoints, maybe hurdles you'll face is, well, the DOT audit.
Ah, yes. The audit.
Now, just hearing that phrase, DOT audit, I bet for a lot of folks listening, it sounds maybe intimidating, a bit scary.
It often does, yeah. Understandably so, especially when you're starting out.
But here on the deep dive, our whole goal today is to, well, simplify this, make it so clear that even if you're totally new to trucking, you'll feel ready, confident even.
Exactly right. That's our mission for this deep dive. It's really tailored for you, the listener. Doesn't matter if you're a brand new owner-operator, just getting, your wheels turning, or maybe you're running a small fleet already. We're going to cut through all the official jargon.
Yeah, get straight to the point.
Right. Pull out the most important nuggets from a really solid guide we looked at. Make sure you're informed, but crucially, not feeling overwhelmed.
Perfect. So let's start right at the beginning then. What exactly is a DOT audit? Break it down.
Okay, simplest terms. A DOT audit is basically when the Department of Transportation, the DOT, comes to check up on your company.
The checkup. Okay.
They're making sure you're following the safety laws, the trucking rules, all the things designed to keep people safe out there.
So it's about safety compliance.
Precisely. Think of it maybe like a school project where you have to show your work.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Yeah, you're showing your documents, proving your safety habits are good, demonstrating how you manage your drivers, your trucks, everything.
And who actually does the checking? Is it just the DOT?
Well, it's usually the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, the FMCSA. They're a branch of the DOT, specifically focused on trucks and buses, commercial vehicle safety.
Got it. FMCSA. That makes perfect sense. So it's less about trying to catch you out and more about just verifying things are being done correctly.
That's the idea, yeah.
Which leads me to wonder, why do they happen? I mean, beyond just safety rules, what's the real core purpose? And maybe more importantly for listeners, when should you expect one?
Yeah, good questions. Look, the government isn't doing these just to, bother truckers. The core purpose is genuinely public safety.
Right. Big trucks, big responsibility.
Exactly. Think about the power, the weight of these vehicles. If rules aren't followed, if safety lapses, the potential for serious damage, for injury, it's immense.
Absolutely.
So the audits are specifically designed to make sure that you, the operator, are doing key things consistently, like hiring safe, qualified drivers.
Okay.
Keeping your trucks in good, safe condition, making sure drivers follow rest rules, driving limits so they aren't fatigued.
The hours of service stuff.
Exactly, HOS. And critically, ensuring operations are drug and alcohol-free. And finally, that you're keeping proper records of, well, pretty much everything.
Sounds comprehensive.
It is. But the key takeaway here is, if you are following these rules consistently, day in and day out, there's really nothing to be afraid of.
That's reassuring. So it's about having good habits baked into your business.
Precisely. It's about building a culture of safety.
Okay, so when might an operator actually get that knock on the door or that email saying audit time?
Right. The triggers. There are basically three main ways an audit happens.
Okay.
First one, almost a guarantee if you're new, the new entrant safety audit. This usually happens within your first year, typically the first 12 months after you get your DOT number.
So newbies should definitely expect it.
Absolutely. Be ready for it. Second, audits can be triggered reactively, meaning maybe after an accident involving one of your trucks, or if someone files a formal complaint against your company.
Okay, so a specific event can trigger it.
Yes. And the third trigger is, well, randomness. Sometimes audits happen just as part of a random safety review program the FMCSA runs.
So you might get picked even if everything seems fine.
Correct. So, while you can generally predict that new entrant audit, the others, less predictable. Which is why being always prepared is the best strategy.
Always ready. Makes sense. Knowing when is helpful, but I think the really big question for a lot of operators, especially newer ones, is what? What's on that auditor's checklist? What are they really digging into?
That's the core of it, isn't it? What do they actually look at?
Yeah, and are there like specific areas that tend to trip people up more often, even folks who think they're doing everything right?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great question. There are definitely nuances, and yes, some areas are more common pitfalls than others. Auditors use a very specific quite comprehensive checklist.
Okay.
The first big area, often where they start, is driver qualification files, DQ files.
Okay, driver files. What's in those?
Think of it like a really crucial personnel file for every single driver you employ,
Yeah.
even if it's just you as an owner-operator.
Right, your own file.
Exactly. Each driver needs their own folder, kept meticulously. Inside, you need a current copy of their driver's license, their medical card proving they're fit to drive,
The med card, yeah.
their full employment history, a road test certificate, all the drug and alcohol test results, that's pre-employment and random tests,
Okay.
and their official driving record, the MVR motor vehicle record.
That's a lot for one folder.
It is. And here's a key insight, something that often catches people. It's not just about having the documents. Auditors often see disorganized files
Uh-huh.
as a potential red flag. It might suggest your overall approach to safety isn't as buttoned up as it should be.
Ah, so neatness counts. It sends a message.
It really does. A well-organized file can actually set a positive tone for the whole audit. It shows you're detail-oriented about safety, not just checking boxes. A quick tip, keep it all together, one folder per driver, physical or digital. Just make it easy to find everything.
That's a great tip. Organization signals commitment. Okay, so after they scrutinize the driver files, what's next on their list?
Next up, they'll look closely at vehicle maintenance and inspection records.
Makes sense. Got to make sure the trucks are safe.
Exactly. They want to see clear proof that your trucks are consistently in safe, roadworthy condition. So they'll dig into your maintenance logs, your repair records.
Okay.
They'll examine those pre-trip and post-trip inspection reports that drivers fill out.
Right, the DVIRs?
Yep, the driver vehicle inspection reports. And they'll verify your annual inspection certificates are current for each vehicle.
So keeping detailed logs for each truck is key.
Absolutely essential. A really crucial tip here. Keep a thorough, consistent maintenance log for each truck. Don't skip routine inspections, and definitely don't skip documenting them properly.
Is that a common mistake? Skipping documentation.
It's a very common misstep, yeah.
Ah.
Or not being detailed enough. Auditors spot that immediately. Remember, this isn't just about passing the audit. It's about protecting your investment, your drivers, and everyone on the road.
It seems obvious to keep trucks safe, but are there specific maintenance things operators think they're good on, but maybe fall short during an audit?
Oh, definitely. A classic example is those daily pre-trip and post-trip reports, the DVIRs. Operators often ensure they get filled out, but maybe the drivers rush them. They miss details, or worse, they note a defect, but there's no record of it being fixed.
Ah, closing the loop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Auditors aren't just looking for a checked box. They're looking for proof that problems were identified and then corrected. So make sure drivers know how to do thorough inspections and that your repair records clearly show you addressed any issues found on those reports.
That's a really vital distinction. Okay, what about driver hours? That's always a big topic, right? Hours of service.
Huge topic. Yep, that's hours of service, HOS logs. The main goal here is crystal clear. Prevent driver fatigue. Make sure drivers get proper rest.
Right. Tired driving is dangerous driving.
Incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
So the requirement now is using an ELD, an electronic logging device, to track those hours automatically.
Okay, the ELDs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need to keep at least 6 months worth of these logs. And they have to be accurate, complete, no gaps, no funny business.
So ELDs are pretty much standard now.
They really are a game changer for compliance. They make it much, much harder to make errors or accidentally violate the rules compared to the old paper logs. A tip here, if you haven't got your ELD system running smoothly yet, don't wait. Get it set up properly. It's absolutely core to modern trucking safety.
ELDs definitely seem essential for compliance. I have heard, though, some drivers maybe found the switch a bit challenging initially. How do auditors view that tech integration versus, say, the human side of logging?
That's a really perceptive point. Auditors generally appreciate the accuracy and, frankly, the efficiency ELDs bring. It takes a lot of the potential human error out of the equation compared to paper.
Right.
However, they don't just look at the screen. They look for consistency. Does the ELD data match other things, like fuel receipts or dispatch records? Does it match what the driver tells them if they talk to the driver?
Ah, so they cross-reference.
They do. They want to see that drivers are properly trained on using their ELD, understand the rules, and that the logs genuinely reflect the driver's actual duty status driving, on duty, not driving, off duty, sleep or berth. It's about the technology supporting a real culture of following the HOS rules, not just replacing responsibility.
That makes a lot of sense. Technology as a tool, not a replacement for diligence. Okay, and speaking of absolutely critical compliance areas, Drug and alcohol testing.
Oh, yeah. Non-negotiable. The drug and alcohol testing program. This is a massive cornerstone of safety in the industry. You absolutely must be enrolled in a DOT-approved testing program before you haul your very first load. Not after, before.
Before the first load. Wow. Okay.
It covers several types of tests. Pre-employment is mandatory, random tests spread throughout the year, post-accident tests under specific circumstances, and reasonable suspicion tests if a supervisor sees signs of impairment.
That sounds like a lot to manage, especially for a small company.
It can be. Which leads to a really practical tip. If you're a smaller operation, seriously consider partnering with a reputable third-party administrator, a TPA.
A TP.
Yeah, they specialize in managing these DOT testing programs. They handle the random selections, coordinating tests, keeping records straight. It takes a huge burden off you. But remember,
Yeah.
even with the TPA, you, the motor carrier, are ultimately responsible. So you still need to keep meticulous copies of all test results and ensure the program is being followed correctly. This isn't just about rules. It's about ensuring every single driver is clear-headed and fit for duty.
Okay, using a TPA sounds like a very smart move for many. What about other essential paperwork, like proof of insurance?
Right, insurance paperwork. This one's usually pretty straightforward. You just need to prove your company has the required level of insurance coverage.
And what specific forms do they look for?
The main things are your MCS 90 form.
MCS 90.
Yeah, that's the key one. It basically proves you meet the federal minimum financial responsibility requirements. And along with that, your general certificate of insurance showing your coverage details.
Okay.
Here's a quick but really important tip. Don't just assume your insurance agent gave you the right stuff. Actively ask them to double-check and confirm that your forms, especially that MCS 90, are fully DOT compliant. It's a specific standard, and you don't want a simple paperwork mix-up to cause an issue during an audit.
Good advice. Proactive communication with your agent. Now, what about accidents? If a company has been fortunate, maybe they haven't had any accidents yet, do they still need an accident log?
Yes, absolutely. That's a common point of confusion. Even with a perfect safety record, you still must maintain an accident register.
Even with zero accidents?
Even with zero accidents. You need the register itself set up. If an accident does occur, you need to record specific details. Date, location, a brief description of what happened, who was involved, names, injuries, fatalities, and copies of any police reports.
Okay, so have the format ready.
Exactly. And here's a deeper insight on this one. This register isn't just for major DOT reportable crashes. You should really be logging even minor incidents or maybe near misses in your internal records.
Why is that? If it wasn't a big deal.
Because those seemingly minor events can sometimes reveal underlying problems. Maybe a pattern in driver behavior, or an issue with a certain route, or a minor maintenance problem that keeps recurring. If you don't track them, you can't spot the trend and fix it before it does lead to something serious.
Ah, so the log isn't just a record, it's like a diagnostic tool.
Precisely. It shows the auditor, and more importantly, it shows you that you're committed to learning from every incident, big or small, and continuously improving your safety. I actually remember talking to a new operator who thought, hey, no accidents, no log needed. And that assumption cost them points in their audit. It's really about demonstrating you're prepared for anything, even things you hope never happen.
That's a really powerful way to frame it, a diagnostic tool for safety. Okay, brings us to the last key area you mentioned. What about a company's overall rules, their policies?
Right, the final piece of the puzzle. Safety policies. You need to have your safety rules clearly written down.
Written down, not just understood.
Written down. Documented. This covers various things. Rules about driver safety and general conduct. Your specific policies on drug and alcohol use beyond just the testing, your procedures for vehicle maintenance, and crucially, what drivers should do in case of an emergency or an accident.
Okay, so a formal set of rules.
Exactly. And the best practice, really a great tip here, is to put all these policies together, maybe in an employee handbook or a dedicated safety binder, and then make sure every single driver gets a copy and acknowledges they've received and understood it. Having written policies isn't just about checking an audit box. It solidifies your company's stance on safety and gives everyone clear, consistent guidance.
That seems like a solid foundation for everything else.
Wow, that's a truly comprehensive list of what auditors are looking for. Okay, so with all that now laid out, the driver files, maintenance, HOS, testing, insurance, accident register, policies, how does an operator actually prepare? Step by step. What should they do to really nail that DOT audit?
Okay, let's talk practical prep. The very first, most fundamental step, organize everything.
Back to organization.
Absolutely. It underpins everything. Create dedicated folders, physical ones, digital ones on your computer, whatever works for you, but have one for each of those 7 areas we just discussed.
Driver files, maintenance, HOS, etc.
Exactly. Label them clearly, keep everything neat, make it incredibly easy to find any specific document the auditor asks for. I really can't stress this enough. Auditors love clean, complete, well-organized files.
It makes their job easier, I suppose.
It does, but it also sends that strong message again. This company takes compliance seriously. It makes a fantastic first impression.
Okay, step 1, get organized.
Yeah.
What's the next critical thing to do once you have your system set up? Next, you absolutely have to check for expired info. Go through all those organized records with a fine-tooth comb.
Looking for what specifically?
Dates. Are all the driver's licenses current? Are the medical cards still valid? Is your insurance policy active and up to date? Have all required drug tests been done recently and documented properly? Are your HOS logs complete and accurate for at least the last 6 months?
So it's a proactive check for anything outdated.
Precisely. Catching an expired med card or a missing random test result before the auditor does prevents those small, easily avoidable slip-ups from becoming official deficiencies on your record.
That makes a ton of sense. Just basic housekeeping, really. Is there a way to kind of do a practice run before the actual auditor shows up?
Oh, absolutely, and I highly, highly recommend it. Step 3 is to run a mock audit.
A mock audit. How does that work?
You basically pretend you're the DOT auditor. Get that checklist we've been talking about, or a similar one, and go through your own files, just like they would.
Okay. Be critical of your own stuff.
Exactly. Ask yourself those tough questions. Do I have every single required document for this driver? Is everything fully up to date? Are there any gaps? Any missing files? Any inconsistencies between, say, HOS logs and fuel receipts?
Looking for those discrepancies.
Yes, and here's the crucial advice. If you find anything wrong, anything missing, anything expired, fix it. Fix it immediately. Don't wait. It is so much better for you to find and correct your own mistakes before the real auditor does.
That's brilliant advice, like proofreading your own work before handing it in. Okay, makes sense. What about the team? Making sure drivers are ready too.
Excellent point. That leads right into the next step. Train your drivers.
How so? What kind of training?
It doesn't have to be super formal, long sessions. Think short, focused meetings. Maybe clear, simple handouts. Review the HOS rules with them again. Go over your company's specific safety procedures, what to do in an emergency, how to handle breakdowns, accident reporting.
Reinforcing the basics.
Exactly. And also, importantly, what they should do during a roadside inspection if they get pulled over, or if they are involved in an accident. An educated driver, a prepared driver, simply makes fewer mistakes.
Right.
And their understanding, their professionalism out on the road and during inspections, it directly helps your company look good, contributes to a smoother audit, and most importantly, keeps everyone safer.
Makes perfect sense. Well-informed drivers are safer drivers and help with compliance. Okay, are there any specific tools or maybe technologies that can make managing all this easier for operators?
Definitely. We're in the 21st century, right? So step 5 is use tools that help.
Right, what kind of tools?
Leverage technology. There's software out there, apps specifically designed for trucking companies. They can help you track vehicle maintenance schedules, automatically sending reminders.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah. Manage your drug testing program. Some integrate directly with TPAs. Monitor driving hours via the ELDs, obviously. And provide secure cloud storage for all your driver files, vehicle records, everything.
So tech can automate a lot of the tracking and reminders?
It absolutely can. It can make staying compliant much, much easier and more efficient, reducing the chance of human error in record keeping. But very important tip that comes with using tech.
What's that?
Don't forget to back up your files. Whether you're using fancy software or simple spreadsheets, digital data needs backups. Just like physical paper records should have copies stored safely. Don't rely on just one location for critical information.
Good point. Redundancy is key. Okay, those are fantastic, really actionable preparation steps. Organize, check dates, mock audit, train drivers, use tools. So let's say you've done all that. You're feeling prepared. The day comes, the auditor calls or shows up. What actually happens during the audit itself?
Right, the main event. So during the audit, the process can happen in a couple of ways. The auditor might physically visit your office, your place of business.
Okay, the traditional way?
Or, increasingly common now, especially for smaller carriers or certain types of audits, they might conduct it remotely, using email, secure online portals, phone calls.
Ah, a virtual audit.
Exactly. Either way, they will typically tell you ahead of time what specific records they need to see, so you can have them ready.
That's helpful. They don't just spring it on you usually.
Usually not for the full audit, no. They'll likely ask you questions too about your business operations, how you handle safety, your maintenance program, maybe walk through a hypothetical situation.
Okay.
And in some cases, especially if they're on site, they might want to talk directly to one or two of your drivers.
Ah, interview the drivers.
Potentially, yeah, just to gauge their understanding of the rules, safety procedures, HOS, that sort of thing.
So what's the best way to handle that interaction with the auditor?
The absolute most important advice is be calm, be polite, and be completely honest,
Honesty's the best policy, even if something's wrong.
especially if something's wrong. Look, auditors know mistakes happen, especially with new companies. If you realize you are missing a document or something isn't quite right, don't try to hide it or bluff your way through.
Okay. What should you do instead?
Explain the situation clearly and calmly. Acknowledge the issue, and crucially, tell them how you plan to fix it. Show them you've already thought about corrective action. Trying to conceal something will almost always make the situation worse if they find it later, which they often do.
Right. Honesty and a clear plan to fix things seem essential. Okay, so the audit happens, you provide the documents, answer questions. Then what? What happens after they leave or finish the remote review?
After the auditor completes the review, you'll receive a formal report. Think of it like a report card for your safety compliance.
Okay, a report card. Does it say pass or fail?
It's a bit more nuanced. It will clearly outline what you did well, where you were compliant, your strengths. And more importantly, perhaps, it will list any mistakes, violations, or areas where you were found to be non-compliant.
The areas needing improvement.
Exactly. Now, if problems were identified, especially significant ones, you'll likely be required to submit something called a corrective action plan, a CIP.
Exactly.
Corrective action plan. What's that involve? It's basically your formal written response detailing exactly how you are going to fix the issues the auditor found. You need to explain the steps you'll take to prevent those specific violations from happening again.
So you have to show them you're taking it seriously and fixing the root cause.
Precisely. And this is absolutely crucial. Do not ignore this step. Don't delay. You need to respond to that audit report, submit your CAP if required, promptly and professionally. And then, most importantly, you need to actually implement the changes you described in your plan. Your follow-through is just as important as your preparation.
That makes total sense. The audit isn't really over until you've addressed any issues found. Okay, wow. We've covered a lot of ground here. The what, the why, the when, how to prepare, what happens during and after. To try and bring it all together, what would you say are the absolute top tips? The distillation of everything for successfully passing a DOT audit.
Okay, yeah, let's boil it down. Based on the source material and everything we've discussed, it really comes down to about 5 key principles for success. First, we keep coming back to this, stay organized. Keep your paperwork, your digital files, everything impeccably neat and super easy to access.
Organization is king. Got it.
Second, be honest. We just talked about this. Mistakes can happen. Owning up to them and showing how you'll fix them matters way more than trying to hide them.
Honesty and transparency.
Okay. Third, train your team. Your drivers are on the front lines. An educated, prepared driver is probably your single greatest asset in preventing violations and navigating inspections smoothly.
Empower your drivers. Makes sense.
Fourth, do regular checkups. Don't wait for the audit notice. Set aside specific time, maybe once a month, once a quarter, to proactively review your own files. Check those dates, look for gaps, stay ahead of the curve.
Continuous self-auditing, basically.
Exactly. And finally, fifth, use checklists. Whether it's the official FMCSA guidance or checklists you create yourself based on the 7 areas, use them. They are invaluable tools to make sure you don't forget anything important in your day-to-day operations or your audit prep.
That's a fantastic summary. Organize, be honest, train, check up, use checklists. Simple but powerful.
They really cover the core philosophy needed.
And just to make it even more concrete for listeners, that sample DOT audit checklist from the source material is a great reference. It reminds you to double-check your readiness for all those key areas: your driver qualification files, vehicle maintenance records, those insurance documents, especially the MCS 90 form, your drug and alcohol testing records, at least 6 months of hours of service logs, your accident register, even if empty, your written safety policies, all that ELD data backing up your logs, and maybe even having an up-to-date copy of the FMCSA regulations handy.
That checklist is essentially your roadmap to preparedness. Follow it, keep things current, and you'll be in very good shape.
It sounds like it. And If listeners take just one thing away from this whole deep dive, what would you say it is, that ultimate mantra?
I think it comes back to something we touched on from the source. The key to passing a DOT audit isn't perfection, it's preparation.
Preparation, not perfection. I like that.
Yeah. Nobody expects flawless records from day one, maybe ever. But they do expect you to have a solid system, to be diligent, and to be genuinely committed to safety and compliance. It's about building those consistent processes.
That's incredibly powerful and honestly quite reassuring. Okay, so wrapping things up, your first DOT audit, yeah, it might feel like a really big deal.
It is significant, no doubt.
It is. It's a major checkpoint. But based on everything we've covered, it truly doesn't have to be this terrifying thing looming over you.
Not at all if you approach it right.
Right. Maybe think of it more like a vital health check for your trucking business, a way to make sure your company isn't just moving forward, but moving safely, correctly,
Yeah.
sustainably.
That's a great way to look at it, a health check.
And if you really focus on being organized, being honest, and keeping safety at the absolute forefront of everything you do, well, you're going to be just fine. You'll navigate it.
You absolutely will. And maybe let's build on that just one last step.
Okay.
Think about the impact of all this preparation. It goes way beyond just passing the audit, right?
Mhm.
It's not just about compliance for compliance's sake.
What do you mean?
I mean, when you diligently prepare, when you build these systems, you're actually doing something much bigger. You're consciously constructing a truly safe operation.
Right. The safety culture we mentioned.
Exactly. And that culture, that commitment, it protects your drivers, it protects your business, your trucks, your livelihood, and maybe most importantly, it protects everyone else who shares the road with your vehicles.
That's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
It has to be. So the final thought for you, the listener, as you reflect on all this prep work, maybe ask yourself, what does it really mean for you and your company to not just scrape by and pass an audit, but to actually excel, to build and lead a robust culture of safety? How does diving deep into this preparation empower you now to lead with more confidence, more responsibility as you make those big moves we talked about at the start?